program will begin shortly. Enjoy. Posloucháte svůj mozek v živém vysílání. Program brzy začne. Užijte si to.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Fire blankets as an item don't really make sense to me, do they? Your house is burning down and the department tells you to tuck the blaze into bed. Anyways, folks, it just doesn't make sense. I am happy to be with here. Be with you here. Be with year. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Folks, it's a beautiful Friday. What else is there to say? I mean, I'm happy that the week is over. I'm sure you are too. You probably it's the holidays. It's, you know what I mean? The holidays, like in quotation marks, as in it's the time between Thanksgiving and December. That can mean a lot for a lot of different people. If you're a college student, you're in hell right now. You're lining up for like semester finals. You're going, you're in the mines right now, deep. You are like clacking the coal with the pickaxes and shit, and you're humming to yourself, you know what I mean? You guys are in the trenches right now, and that's okay. That's okay, right? You're going to earn that Christmas vacation. You're going to earn that time off, and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be wonderful. And then you're going to hate winter because winter's going to stick around longer than we invited it to. Folks, there's way too much to talk about today. There's way too much fallout. There's a lot of stuff happened, quite frankly, and I want to discuss it because there's a couple things that I have yet to touch on. There's a few things that I don't even have clips to play for you because ABC News and such haven't touched it yet. They haven't talked about it, so I can't play you the examples of like mainstream media figures talking about it. So this first story, specifically the one that I'm referencing, folks, if you are a resident of the state of Minnesota, it's time to get nervous. It's time to start shaking in your boots. Mike Lindell, former crack addict and current pillow salesman, is running for governor of Minnesota. Folks, this is possibly paving the way for Hunter Biden in 2028, where we're going to be like, yeah, sure, you smoke crack, you did all of this crazy stuff, whatever. And admittedly, I'm one of those people where I try not to judge people based on their past. Like RFK Jr., I was the bottom of my class. I started doing heroin. I immediately jumped to the top of my class because I could sit still. That's crazy. It is admittedly insane. But listen, crack, those are real thinkers. Heroin addicts, they're slanted, they're slow. You know what I mean? When you're smoking crack or when you are snorting the little bit of the powdered cocaine, your mind is sharp. Did you see Hunter Biden in that interview with Channel 5? Jesus Christ. He was incredible. He was boom, 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 boom. I'll tell you what, I'd fly a plane over to that airport and I'd say, what the hell are you folks doing? And then I'd kick their asses myself. He has the anger, kind of like the old man anger of his father, Joe, but he has this sort of new age uncensored element that I think is going to make him really appealing. Anyways, folks, December 3rd, Mike Lindell, the outspoken CEO of MyPillow and prominent figure in the MAGA movement, you can pronounce it however you want, filed paperwork with the Minnesota Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board to form the Mike Lindell for Governor Committee, signaling his intent to enter the 2026 gubernatorial race as a Republican. While Lindell has not formally declared his candidacy, he also describes himself as 98% sure, and he plans a December 11th announcement. I'm giving you all a 6-day notice here, folks. This is really something that you need to keep on your radar. This move allows him to begin fundraising immediately amid a crowded GOP primary that includes Minnesota's House Speaker, Lisa Damuth, who is personally my nominee if they're going to go for a choice on the Republican side. I think Lisa is a solid pick. She's got the racial element where she's a little diverse. She's got the woman card, and she's got a solid record as House Speaker. 2022 nominee Scott Jensen, let's ditch him. No one likes his atmosphere, and no one is... he doesn't have... Name one thing that he's ever said ever. You can't, because he doesn't have a public image, and neither does Lisa, admittedly, but she's out there, trying to get interviews. She's trying to get her name out there. You know what I mean? Tim Walz is a goofy teacher. If you oppose him with this businesswoman hard ass, I don't know that he's going to play very well. Oh, and State Representative Kristen Robbins, which we can throw her out. She has no chance. The race pits potential Republican challengers against incumbent Democratic Governor Tim Walz, who's seeking an unprecedented third term after serving as Kamala Harris's running mate in the 2024 presidential election. Lindell's entry has already ignited backlash from Democrats, with the Minnesota DFL party labeling him as a conspiratorial extremist and weird figure, unfit to lead. Stop with the weird accusations. Listen. They are very weird. I will admit, I will give you that. They believe in a talking snake, and they believe that a man, not a man, but like a godly entity created everything we know in 7 days. I'll never give, 6 days, excuse me, because the seventh day is rest. But I will give that to you, that the right is prone to fantastical thinking. But the left has a categorical domination over the weird category. It is the weird. They are not the party of like, this child might be a boy or a girl. We can't tell based on their genitals. That's the party, unfortunately, that is calling everybody weird. It's like, well, you guys can't even figure out what a woman is, what a man is, what all of this is. I will tell you what a woman is. It's an adult human female, has ovaries that produce eggs, all of that sort of stuff. A trans woman is a man who identifies as a woman and is experiencing extreme gender dysphoria and chooses to live his life as a woman. He chooses to live his life as a woman, but he, in and of himself, will continue to biologically. He was born a man. He will always be a biological man. He can choose to live his way as a... I'll even refer to him by his pronouns because I don't give a shit, quite frankly. But it's a level of... I think that you guys don't realize that you don't really have the room to be calling anybody else weird. It's not really okay if you can't hash out your own party to be whatever. I'm just saying, it's not like, I'm not, when Walz's campaign is calling people weird, like they did that with J.D. Vance when he is admittedly one of the most, he's one of the most average guys that you'll see in your life. He's just kind of boring. That's honestly, and he's also like clumsy. He like drops statues and like trophies and stuff. That's the only thing they can level against J.D. Vance. They stop going for the weird category. It's not winning anybody over, and it's just making you guys sound weirder when they look into your politics. Lindell's background, if you don't know, is a classic American's rags to riches tale. It's laced with personal redemption and controversy. Born in 1961 in Mankato, Minnesota, so he's been a lifelong resident. He dropped out of college in the late 1970s and battled severe addictions to crack cocaine and gambling for nearly 2 decades, hitting rock bottom in the early 2000s, so right around the time that I was born. The self-proclaimed born-again Christian, Lindell credits his faith with his turnaround in 2004. He founded MyPillow from his basement. That's a usual story, turning it into a multi-million-dollar empire. You probably remember the infomercials. Politically, he emerged as a fervent Donald Trump ally in 2016, donating heavily to Republican causes, speaking at Trump rallies, and attending White House events like Made in America Week in 2017. His profile skyrocketed post-2020, where he became the face of election denialism, falsely claiming that voting machines rigged the results against Trump, funding a cyber psyopism to push debunked theories and produce films like Absolute Proof promoting the hoax. These efforts led to a cascade of defamation lawsuits, including a $5 million judgment in 2024 for false claims against the software engineer and ongoing cases with Dominion Voting Systems and Smartmatic, which have strained MyPillow financially, resulting in $778,000 court-ordered payments to the DHL in December 2024 and deplatforming from major retailers. A lot of people, they will not sell the MyPillow anymore. This is, admittedly, this is 2 months ago because this is the most recent stuff that you can find on this. A lot of the stuff covering it is AI jumping on it, AI news bots, all that sort of stuff, reading it out on YouTube. This is him teasing it not that long ago. Play the broadcast. Why you gotta do that? Why you gotta make me look stupid? When I hit play, you don't play the audio, and now I look dumb. Play.
Minnesota was
Thank you.
The tip of the spear for many things, and I believe we're also a Trojan horse for a lot of evil that's sitting here. And everyone, a lot of states can say, "Oh no, it's us. Oh no, it's us." Well, Minnesota, there's a lot of stuff would take me a long time to tell everybody. There's a lot of bad things going on here. And
not exactly wrong.
For myself, I thought about it. It's like I don't know who else. Number one, I don't know anyone else that can win. We've done polling, and I know what needs to be done here. I've lived here all my life. I know what The stuff I did when I came out of addiction, all the stuff we did downtown, helping out Teen Challenge, Salvation Army, Union Gospel, all these people in the streets that I was helping down there, and that we were doing, all that just was thrown out the window by this governor that we have now in this administration. And it's pretty, the nonsensical things, him running for vice president, I mean, now the whole country knows. It's like, you can't make this stuff up.
All right, I would like to say, a lot of people, it doesn't even matter to talk about the fact that he was yes, obviously we can talk about how nobody was convinced by the coach thing. Does anybody remember that one television show where it was like about a dad who lived, God, is it literally called Coach? Because it's a television show that takes place in Minnesota. It's literally called Coach. Yes, it's literally called Coach. Okay. It has Craig T. Nielsen, everybody remembers that, Jerry Van Dyke, Claire Carey, Bill Fagerbakke, all of those people. Bill Fagerbakke, he went on to voice, what's his name? Patrick Star on SpongeBob SquarePants. God, I can't remember. Shit for names today. But folks, if you don't remember, Coach was this it ran for like 9 seasons, 1989 till like whatever. And it was something, if you have parents that are like old and like sports or something, they can probably tell you that they remember watching this. And by old, I mean they have a 19 in their birth year. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, that's the category for old now. I'm almost unk myself in 2003. The border is getting pushed up year after year. And once you reach that 25 to 30 era, you're old. I'm sorry, you're unk and you're chopped. I'm worried about it. I'm nervous about that. Folks, nobody was convinced by that. Everybody tried to they sold a hat that was like camo and orange, and it was like, Coach, put Coach in, and it was a disaster. I'm sorry. It was a great opportunity for my state to get noticed. It was a great opportunity for my state to get some recognition. Granted, it didn't get great recognition, because it's not going great right now. We have massive fraud. We've kind of been a disaster in the cities ever since the 2020 riots. Nobody likes to talk about it. But, and Duluth is just an energy hub for people who like to eat cream cheese bagels and, ride energy-efficient buses and pay $400 for parking. That's what Duluth is. And it's like, I would like to say that we're Vermont on a bigger scale. We're a lot of old people that are like, they're very tied in with their original cultures. You see people, they read like Winfolk and shit like that, like Norwegian tales, old stuff about like German trolls and things. I don't know how to, they're very, very tied in with this kind of I don't know how to describe it. But listen. I think that Mike Lindell's image does not work for Minnesota. I don't think that he has the niceties. Listen, Tim Walz has the niceties because he's passive aggressive. He's not even that passive aggressive when he just gets to like ranting. We'll review like his speech that he gave earlier, because he's had some missteps. Tim Walz in general, with the misaligning with the National Governors Association and whatnot, which is a bipartisan institution, has been like that since 1908. We'll talk about that later. Lindell's political views, people, I think that he's too extreme. He's unapologetically conservative. He's aligned with Trump and the right wing of the GOP, emphasizing election security as a cornerstone. He's vowed to make securing elections the top priority of his platform, citing private polls where he is ranked as the third biggest concern, where it is ranked as the third biggest concern for Minnesotans. I don't agree with that. I just don't. I'm sorry. I think that everybody believes that our elections are pretty solid, and everybody knows that if they were not representative of how people actually voted, when we wouldn't have Trump switching in and out, all of these sorts of things, we wouldn't have Biden winning in 2020, the human condition is perfectly aligning with how the elections turn out. It's impossible to say that it is 100% fraud. He's a vocal Christian nationalist. He has described Trump as chosen by God and the greatest president in history at events like CPAC, while railing against perceived liberal overreach on issues like immigration, woke education, and government fraud. His rhetoric often veers into conspiracy territory, including unsubstantiated allegations of foreign interference in U.S. elections and criticism of DEI initiatives as destructive to states like Minnesota. He's not exactly wrong about it. DEI, in weird ways, has encouraged more fraudulent abuses of the system. When Feeding Our Future was denied federal funds, they immediately went ahead and they filed a suit saying they were being racially discriminated against. The payments were immediately resumed because if you criticize anybody of being racist, they will immediately fold, and then they will give you whatever you want in this country. That's exactly how it works. Supporters on platforms like X hail him as going to drain the swamp in Minnesota's capital. He's business savvy, he's a warrior, but critics decry his extremism and question his mental stability, pointing out incidents like in 2024, MyPillow sale priced at $14.88. A number flagged as a white supremacist dog whistle. Number meaning. Let's go ahead with 1488. 14 words and the 8th letter of the alphabet combined it creates this powerful symbol for white supremacists. If you don't know about the 14 words, I don't remember them off the top of my head. We must work to preserve our culture for white children. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Definitely could be seen as such. I mean, yeah, that's weird. That's a weird angle. I don't love that. Assessing his political performance in the race reveals high risk, by the way. Let's just play his words.
In your head, like, why would anybody want to do these things and hurt all people? And so I'm very concerned, and I'm gonna I'll be letting people know real soon what I'm gonna do. There's just a few
what I'm gonna
things,
do.
But I've already done one step of this. I'm back in Minnesota, so the big news came out, the fake news came out and said, Mike can't run, he doesn't live in Minnesota anymore. Wrong, here I'm back, and I'm here.
That's gonna be me. Guys, guess what? That's gonna be me. When I'm back in my hometown, I'm gonna be like, they said I can't run for mayor and take over the town. I'm back, and then I'm gonna win in a landslide. And it'll be Huey Long all over again, and I can't wait. Analysts, they're widely viewing his attempt as a long shot. With his lack of elected experiences, ongoing legal woes, and polarizing conspiracism, likely alienating suburban independents and turnout voters in a swing state like Minnesota. Social media buzz on X shows enthusiastic MAGA support, but mockery from detractors, suggesting his bid might fracture the primary or hand Democrats an easy target, ultimately benefiting Walz's re-election in the race, where early polls show no clear front-runner among the dozens of GOP contenders. I don't know. Yeah, if we have the MyPillow guy as governor, it'd be interesting, right? I mean, we had a wrestler. We had Jesse Ventura. He was our greatest governor we've ever had in history. He's 10 times better than Tim Walz ever could have hoped to be. Listen, I'm sorry, it's just factually true to talk about Jesse Ventura this way. He's one of the greatest governors that we've had in the history of our country. It's not an exaggeration. Folks, Minnesota has a fun history, you know what I mean? California also has a fun history. They select, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger. They had Clint Eastwood serve as the mayor of a town. You know, there's always room in politics, as is evident, because, you know, people just keep throwing their hats in. We got the ShamWow guy. We got MyPillow. It's going to be the year of infomercials in politics next year, and I'm really excited for it, because a lot of these guys, they're going to win. They're going to win, and then they will be permanent fixtures of our lives when we thought that we could have forgotten about both of these men back in the early 2010s. But apparently not. Apparently not. Folks, let's take a break for an ad. Are you tired of your money just sitting there in your bank account, being all responsible, paying for bills? Hi, I'm Ollie, and this is an advertisement for MySwindle, America's fastest growing provider of absolutely nothing in return for your hard-earned cash. For a limited time, send us any amount of money. Seriously, we prefer the big ones, any small ones, any amount, and we'll give you the sweet, sweet satisfaction of knowing your dollars have just vanished into the ether, faster than Dominion voting machines on election night. Here's the best part. Every penny you patriotically donate gets quietly funneled right into the Mike Lindell for Governor 2026 Victory Fund, where it will be used to buy more pillows, louder megaphones, and possibly a lifetime supply of crack. For the pillow stuffing, of course. No receipts, no refunds, no questions asked. Just pure, unfiltered financial martyrdom. Operators are standing by to mispronounce your credit card number and laugh all the way to the campaign trail. MySwindle, because nothing says I love freedom like lighting your money on fire while a guy in a crucifix necktie screams about martial law at a Waffle House. Call 1-800-GET-FLEECED now. First 10,000 suckers get an autographed photo of Mike hugging a voting machine. That definitely, positively, 100% did not flip a single vote. Operators are standing by, like we said, mostly to high-five each other. MySwindle, it's not a scam if you're not meant to do it. Folks, We got a second story. It's kind of fracturing a lot of folks. A lot of people, they're going, well, I don't know how I feel about that. So I'm gonna serve it to you, and then you're gonna sit in your feelings, and then I'm gonna talk about it. A student at the University of Oklahoma has cited the Bible and received a 0 on her grade, sparking national debate. Could I cite the mists of Avalon if I was writing about King Arthur and have that count because we aren't 100% sure that he wasn't real? Would that count? Like, in a way, we don't know that King Arthur wasn't real. The Brits themselves, some of them will say that they found his tomb. Some of them will say that it's like he was definitely a myth, definitely not. There's evidence of him serving in the hall. There's a lot of evidence on both sides that King Arthur could have been a real person, could not have been. Just like Jesus could have been a real person, could not have been. Whether or not you believe the rest of what they write about King Arthur, whether or not you believe the rest of what they write about him in all the other books that he appears in, that's up to you. But I'm saying that's the same level of questioning that we can go, where it's like, it's loose mythology at this point, where we're not really sure if Jesus was a real fella. He certainly could have been. We don't know if King Arthur was a real fella. He certainly could have been. Folks, in late November 2025, Samantha Fulnecki, a junior psychology major and pre-med student at the University of Oklahoma, submitted an opinion-based essay for a 2000-level psychology class. The assignment required a 650-word response to an article discussing societal expectations of gender roles and their impact on middle schoolers. Fulnecki, drawing from her Christian worldview, argued that eliminating traditional gender binaries would be detrimental to society, citing Genesis from the Bible to support her view that men and women were created with distinct roles by God. Despite earning perfect scores on prior assignments, she received a 0 from the teaching assistant Riley Kurth, who critiqued the paper on relying for, quote, personal ideology over empirical evidence, contradicting itself, failing to address the prompt's questions, and being, quote, at times offensive. When Fulnecki appealed, emphasizing the subjective nature of the task, Kurth upheld the grade, prompting her to escalate the issue. Outraged, Fulnecki emailed Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, University President Joe Harroz Jr., and her dean, media outlets, and the Teachers Freedom Alliance just hours after receiving the feedback. She accused Kurth of religious discrimination and bias against her beliefs, stating, quote, I definitely think I was being punished for what I believe. The story quickly went viral on social media, amplified by conservative influencers and organizations like Turning Point USA, garnering millions of views and sparking national firestorm. Blah, blah, blah. Supporters rallied around Fulnecki's First Amendment rights, with figures like state schools superintendent Ryan Walters praising her for standing up for her Christian values. The incident fueled broader conversations about religious expression in secular academia, with hashtags like hashtag Bible in class trending and petitions demanding accountability. The University of Oklahoma responded swiftly amid the backlash, launching a full review, assuring Fulnecki that the 0 would not impact her final course grade. What? Why? Wait a minute. If you're just gonna do that, give her the pass. Give her an A. Give her an A. If you're gonna be, it doesn't even count. Then you're discounting it. She gets to go ahead and she gets to put out this article or whatever, this piece that doesn't even matter. Her class is going to pass it in flying colors, but it's not going to count towards her final grade. That's unfair. Kurth was placed on administrative leave, paid administrative leave, pending an investigation, and a move that the university described as addressing concerns involving the First Amendment rights, certainly including religious freedoms. Fulnecki expressed frustrations that action only followed a viral uproar, but she viewed it as partial victory, encouraging other Christians to defend their faith. The debate has intensified cultural divides on college campuses, highlighting tensions between academic standards such as prioritizing empirical evidence in scientific fields like psychology and personal freedoms, with critics on evidence platforms like Reddit arguing the grade reflected poor scholarship rather than bias. As the review continues, the case underscores ongoing clashes over religion, gender ideology, and freedom of speech in higher education. Let's review this clip from KATV Channel 7.
Tonight, we're hearing from the OU student who took her 0 grade to the governor. Samantha Fulnecki is a psychology junior who says she received a 0 grade for citing the Bible in her opinion-based essay on gender binary labels. Fox 25's Rob Hagan live at the OU campus with more on the paper that's grabbed the nation's attention. Rob, what have you found out in your conversations today?
Adam Samantha says that she's been receiving hate comments on social media for citing God as a source in her essay, but she's staying strong, and this is her story. It's the 650-word essay on gender binaries for a 2000-level psych class at OU based on opinion, which received a 0 grade for bringing God into the discussion.
I have a question. It's an opinion-based article, in my personal view. Yeah, she's an idiot. I don't believe in fantasies either. I'm not devout to faith in any regards. I do find the Bible to be what's like many people say, where it's like it's on the scale and grandeur when you look at how it talks about human psychology, and when it talks about sins and whatnot, how really it's more about human nature than anything else. It's beautiful in that context, but in the way that this people. It's an opinion article. And I go like, what isn't it the ultimate opinion to say that you believe in God? I'm not sure exactly, because this is a psychology course. It's not as though she's a nurse training to be like, well, what's your source for how many milligrams to inject this patient with? And they're not going like Exodus. That's not what this situation is. It's more so, this is an opinion-based thing on some major psych degree. By the way, psychology. They would have been happy if they would have cited Sigmund Freud, besides God, apparently, which would have been fine, arguably better. I don't know exactly. This is weird. This is really strange. I think that there's room for going, hey, yeah, sure. If you're going to go deep, I'm proud of her for even reading the Bible. The majority of Christians don't. At least she cited actual pieces in the Bible. But whatever. I think it's weird. This is a weird angle because it's like, I don't know that it's not that she's training for like a solid field where I'd go, yeah, I wouldn't want like a nut in that course. I wouldn't want a nut to be giving me a vaccine. But she's not giving me a vaccine. She's like, she's going into psychology where she could potentially be talking with someone who could also be faith-based. I have no idea what this woman wants to go into. But I don't know. This is a weird one. And I'm kind of on the side of like, well, it's an opinion piece. It's only based on what the person believes. And this girl believes God to be real. Doesn't say much for her IQ, but in regards to the fact that she's willing to give credit to a higher power, that's just genuinely what she thinks. And I think that's where the college is confused. She doesn't know any better. You guys, she's not doing this for like a Twitter moment. She's doing this because she's some bumpkin who grew up in Oklahoma, who doesn't understand very much, who thinks the Bible is a scholarly source because that's probably what her father told her mother told her, and that's perfectly fine. People are going to grow up in different, cultural instances, whatever. I don't know. There's weird ways to handle this.
Now the pre-med student who brought her paper to the governor sharing what she's learned.
My main goal in this is to encourage other Christians to stand up for their beliefs.
Samantha Fulnecki says she received a perfect grade on every assignment in the online course she says is taught by 2 teaching assistants, until this one.
I didn't know that the TA was transgender or about his personal beliefs or anything like that. I just did the assignments and turned them in and went about my day. So there hadn't been any tension in the past until we were asked to do an assignment over this topic.
She says school administration decided not to change the 0 on the assignment, but it won't be counted towards her final grade.
That's kind of bullshit. That's kind of bullshit. In all honesty, just to go, we're not going to admit that we did anything wrong. We're just going to say that your whole effort didn't count. That's in a way worse. But I understand if you're happy with that because you're not that smart. She doesn't appear to be very smart.
Who's Comanche, hoping to be a pediatrician in a Native American hospital, is receiving both praise and hate.
What the fuck?
Pediatrician in a final grade. Now the student who's Comanche, hoping to be a pediatrician in a Native American hospital, is...
She's going to be working with children. No. listen, girly, is this, listen, if this was an opinion piece, sure, cite God, whatever you want to do. I don't want to hear about God when you're working in a hospital setting with children, because then as far as I know, you believe in exorcisms. As far as I know, you believe in angels and demons. You believe that, like, that comet that everybody's talking about could be a falling angel. You could be a real nut. And that's just bizarre. Whatever. I'm not saying that Christians can't be nurses or Christians can't be doctors. I just immediately doubt that they have any idea what they're doing. I immediately doubt that I'm like, well, okay, I think I could administer this vaccine better than you could. I'm just being honest with you. That's my personal, but like, I hear Christian nurse and I go, ooh, she's going to break it off inside of my arm. I'm nervous now.
Receiving both praise and hate from the masses.
A lot of people have taken things from the Bible and twisted it against me, and just saying things about like how I'm going to hell and my judgment will await me one day.
Fulnecki has caught the attention of the national spotlight and the attention of the Oklahoma Freedom Caucus.
It's about a state-funded, taxpayer-funded institution allowing their faculty members to abridge or impede a student's right to express their faith.
The teaching assistant says Fulnecki did not provide empirical evidence to back her claims using a proven psychological scientific methodology.
What would that be? Would that be like, oh, Sigmund Freud, young men want to have sex with women that remind them of their mother? Like, is that the level of proven that you want? Or, because you can go to a lot of proven studies, and they don't exactly look very good for your side, whoever this teacher's assistant is. But you can immediately tell what side of the aisle they lean on. Like, listen, if you want to go to empirical evidence, empirical data, empirical whatever, it's not going to say anything good about your transgenderness. It's not going to say anything good about any of your issues. So what are we doing here, folks? I don't know that I want this woman to be a nurse. I want her to be a clergy member. You know what I mean? I feel like we should all stay in our lanes. We should stay in our lanes. If you believe in the idea that there are ghosts, if you believe in the supernatural, if you believe in anything remotely fantasistical, whatever, I don't believe that you should be working in professional fields where you have to take care of people. Because you believe, do you know what you believe? You know what's the most terrifying thing? When your nurse says, go to God, baby. Like, when the nurse is like, God's with you. You know what God's with you means? It means that we're hoping for the best. It means that we're hoping for the best, and our treatment is not guaranteed to save your life. But you know, be with God or whatever. God is just God is essentially luck in a lot of these people's minds, which is fine. That's just a lot of people's interpretation. Let's finish this up.
A is put on paid administrative leave, and Fulnecki says they will not grade her work in the future.
I pointed out that it didn't say anywhere that I needed evidence, and his response was, no, that's the grade you deserve.
If it didn't say anywhere in the rubric that it didn't need empirical evidence that was like, then it's an opinion piece. You can just write whatever you want. I don't understand. Why even have an opinion piece if when people express their opinion, you're going to give it a shitty grade? I don't understand that. Her opinion is that she believes in the idea that a man was convinced by his partner to eat a fruit, we don't know what it was, and then that suddenly made them aware that they were naked. They ran into the bushes, God shows up, whatever he looks like, and then he goes, what are you guys doing? And they're like, well, we're naked, we're trying to cover ourselves up. And then God gets real daddy, and he goes, who the fuck told you were naked? And then they're like, we did something we really shouldn't have. And then he was like, get out. If she believes in that, she believes in that. And I'm not gonna listen. I love Christians. Some of my greatest family members and friends are Christian. They are some of my favorite people. The Bible is one of the greatest stories ever told. I can't even disagree with that. Mel Gibson's movie proves it. Folks, I think we should just go ahead and say this. If you're going to make an opinion piece in your class as a part of your rubric, don't be surprised when people come in with some silly opinions, because people have some silly opinions. You could talk to me for 5 minutes and you could find certain opinions of mine and you'd be like, this guy's an absolute nut. He's insane. He thinks that Israel sunk the Titanic, which, look into it. You know, it's an interesting thing. Folks, I think we need to go ahead and we need to finish this up. We need to go, just play the rest out.
Now, State Senator Shane Jett is demanding a meeting with the OU president for what he calls a war on faith on this campus. And as for Samantha, she's going to be a guest speaker tomorrow at the Oklahoma History Center, along with former State Superintendent Ryan Walters. Live at the OU campus in Norman, Rob Higgin, Fox 25 News.
Thank you. Much appreciated, people. I mean, it's an interesting essay. It's an interesting examination. It reminds me of that movie, the movie God's Not Dead, whatever it is, where the guy, he's like, you have to declare that God is dead, which is not fair. I don't think that he should have done that. I don't like, listen, you watch these Christian movies and it's all like the atheist is always painted in the worst way possible. He's always like someone who is not just chill about the idea that other people have their beliefs. He's not just chill about that, where he has his own point of view, but he is willing to live and let live. It's always the atheist is like trying to prove people wrong. He's always citing articles that have been like kind of disproven. He's always talking about monkeys turning into people. And then the Christian goes like, well, how about, why are there still monkeys? And then he stumps the atheist and stuff. Like they write it so poorly. And then, by the way, that these people that watch these movies are the same people that will come to you and they'll say, they found Noah's Ark. They found Noah's Ark, this big hill in the Middle East. It's this beautiful. They're nuts. They're actually insane. There's people that like they claim to be Christian archaeologists where they're like, we use the Bible's empirical evidence to prove that certain, and there's evidence of it. There's like, you can see that there's moments where it says Israel had no king, and then there's moments where it's like, oh yeah, that aligns perfectly to when the Israel kingdom was completely dissolved. And that, you know, there are moments, yes, as with anything. That's like saying the mists of Avalon is empirical evidence that you can point to and source and cite. It happened so far before you that your idea that this book's version of what it was is 100% what it is, even though every single person who wrote one of these books lived at least 40 years after Jesus died. This is factually true and accurate. All the Gospels take place years after he existed. No personal anecdotes of people who met Jesus in the context of maybe the most we have is St. Paul. Like, listen, it's very limited. And I'm willing to concede that Jesus could have very easily been a real person. I bet he was. I am 100% convinced that Jesus was a real person. I'm not convinced he was the Son of God like a lot of these loons are, which is okay. That's okay. That's okay. You know what I like about Christians? At least they choose a prophet who did not marry a 6-year-old. That's what I like about them. That's what I like about the Christians. Is that, you know what I mean? That's interesting. That at least their prophet has a couple of manners. You know what I mean? Their prophet came in and filled out the Old Testament. You read the Old Testament, it has commands like, this is stuff that like older and current religions, they still find because they don't have Jesus in order to limit it. In the Old Testament, it commands shit like, oh, stone prostitutes. Like if this woman is whatever being whorish, everybody stone her. And then Jesus, the New Testament, the gospel comes in and fills it out where it goes, and let he who is sinless cast the first stone. That otherwise you just have commandments that's why the other religions have ritualistic sacrifices. That's why they have temples and whatnot. Christians don't exactly have that because Jesus became the temple. He became the temple for every greater faith. This is just like, listen, we're getting into Christian theology, we're getting into grander debates of it, and I'd love to have a whole episode dedicated to it because that sounds really fun to me because I'm really interested in this whole region of esoteric knowledge, all of this sort of stuff. But I don't have time for that, and neither do you. So I think, let's just say this, opinions are opinions, believe in the Bible if you believe in it, and if you don't, that's that. Don't grade an opinion piece where someone believes in God and that's their true opinion. Don't grade it as though it's whatever. That person is, well, if they wanted to write an article about how the earth was flat, but they cited empirical evidence to where it's like, it's not really empirical, it's just more so something they saw on the internet, they probably would have given that a better grade than they would have given the religion angle, which, I don't know. People, when we have opinion pieces, silly opinions are going to be brought to the table. It's just unfortunate, but that's exactly how it is. Folks, we got the rapid fire section of today's headlines. We got a lot to talk about. let's just jump right into it. The J6 pipe bomber has been arrested after 4-year probe. The FBI has identified and charged the suspect behind the undetonated pipe bomb placed near the DNC and the RNC headquarters on January 5th, 2021, just before the Capitol riot. New director Kash Patel vows transparency, exposing alleged prior cover-ups under the Biden administration, potentially implicating high-level officials. That is, if he's around long enough. I don't know that he's not in Nashville right now hanging out with his country star girlfriend. You know, his girlfriend, she's a generational talent, apparently. He's like, I'm so honored. I'm so honored to be with such a talented woman. This absolutely beautiful, stunning fucking... Like, he's just a weirdo. I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan. Supreme Court approves Texas's Republican favoring redistricting map. In a 6-3 ruling, the United States Supreme Court allowed Texas to implement its newly drawn congressional districts for the 2026 midterms, potentially adding up to 5 GOP-leaning seats, strengthening Republican control of the House. I mean, Democrats did this recently in California, where they really just redistricted it out. They just redrew the lines and whatnot in order to give themselves more standing. Right-leaning states are going to get more right-leaning, left-leaning states are going to get more left-leaning, and it's really exciting. It's nerve-wracking, but it's exciting. Germany approves partial military conscription for males starting in 2027. Parliament passed a law requiring all 18-year-old men in Germany to report for inspection, with voluntary service preferred, but needs-based mandatory drafts possible if recruitment falls short, and rising European security concerns. Amid rising European security concerns, folks, we're readying up. The Macrons, the French, are already telling people that we need to conscript. They have already opened up the new hospitals. They're saying that things are coming. Something is boiling in East Europe, and we need to keep our eyes on it. Because everybody's getting ready. Everybody's getting ready to defend themselves. Everybody is getting ready to force conscription in their countries. America will not try it again. We know better. We know that the citizens would revolt because they're too, and most of them are too fat. The majority of citizens are too fat in order to actually serve in the military. That's the one issue, is I'm trying to get flat feet. I'm trying to get and I'm ready to pull out the hand movements and the when the recruiters show up. I'm not going. I'm sorry. Listen. My grandpa, he served valiantly in the army. He was a incredible patriot to his country. He served us well. And I do not have the strength nor the fortitude to mimic half of what he did. The man jumped out of helicopters. The man, he had a great time in Korea. He had a great time in Panama. He was just like, he was out there. He was out there doing his shit, Lieutenant Danning it up. You know what I mean? He never told me stories about the jungles on fire, but, he told me interesting ones. But I'm just going to say it. This will definitely be more European countries coming up. I wouldn't be surprised if the UK starts eyeing up a mandatory conscription thing. Who knows? Who knows where we could go? Russia commits to uninterrupted fuel shipments to India despite sanctions. President Putin, during a Delhi summit, pledged steady oil and gas to India, defying U.S. pressures. This bolsters India's energy security, but escalates global tensions as revenues for arms sales hit a record $679 billion worldwide. Cool, really cool. Cloudflare, global outage tied to vulnerability patch efforts. A widespread internet disruption affected millions, caused by Cloudflare's attempts to detect and fix a security flaw. The incident highlights ongoing cybersecurity risks, with services like banking and streaming hit hardest. I mean, I didn't know that. Good for them. U.S. Navy faces scrutiny over deadly Caribbean drug boat strikes. The Pentagon confirmed 4 deaths in a recent strike on a suspected narco submarine. Listen, suspected narco submarine? I mean, this could have been another billionaire testing out a device. I don't know. We haven't heard of any of them going missing as of late, but they're pretty quiet ever since that one guy got shot on Manhattan Avenue. You know what I mean? Ever since that one CEO got shot, have you noticed that? There's not many CEOs. You'll have the occasional one going to space, like flying Tim Waltz and Taylor Swift up there. You'll see them. They'll just be like, oh, we're in space now. Thank you, Jeff Bezos, or whatever. It's like, it's really nice. I love when celebrities get that opportunity. But I'm just saying, Well, have you noticed that billionaires have been doing a lot less in general, a lot less noticeable things, a lot like they're trying their best to stay in the background of photos. They're trying to appeal to the president, but they're trying to stay out of the limelight. They're not walking out in the broad daylight anymore. They're not traveling without security. They realize that everybody is hungry, and the rich are exactly what Gen Z wants to eat. It's on their signs. It's everywhere. It's because these kids don't understand anything about economics or a forward motion or how to build anything for themselves. So they want to eat rich people because apparently they think that if they get some of that essence, it's kind of like how rich people eat children, where like they eat the children in order to feel younger. They want to eat the rich in order to feel richer. It's sad. It's sad. It's so terrible. I think they need anger management. They have some serious problems. They should see a doctor. UN launches International Volunteer Year 2026 on Volunteer Day, marking the annual International Volunteer Day. The UN announced a year-long global initiative to boost volunteering for sustainable development, starting with launches in Nepal and Malawi, amid calls for youth involvement in crisis response. Fun, cool, and great. This is really interesting. This is a really curious one that's breaking. Doctor sentenced to 30 months in prison over the death of Matthew Perry from ketamine in a hot tub. If you don't remember, Matthew Perry was an actor. I don't remember him from very much because I'm not unk and I'm not old to where I remember Friends or any of his television shows he was in. He was apparently like I think it was a heartthrob. Is that kind of the good description of him? Or no, was Joey the heartthrob? I don't know. I really don't know. He ended up getting his own TV show that nobody watched, Joey, and whatever. Matthew Perry, if you don't know, he was a celebrity that your mom and your dad probably watched on television. You know, he was like, he showed up here and there with Courtney Cox. Oh yeah, all of them showed up to the funeral all sad because it's like, you know, obviously they would. But, you know, I'm glad that we're holding doctors accountable now. I'm glad that over-diagnosing, the fact that doctors don't get more shit is kind of silly to me in this country. They've killed one of the biggest stars in television, Matthew Perry. They killed Michael Jackson. Doctors kill a lot of people, if you don't know that. Like, it's either like benign misdiagnoses, it's giving someone too much medication because, hey, maybe their business is good for you. Doctors kill a lot of people, and especially Hollywood doctors. They're diagnosing people with autism and anxiety. They're putting them on 15 different pills every day. It's a scary world out there, and I wouldn't recommend moving to Hollywood if you want to live the naturalistic, healthy brain lifestyle. Folks, we got one more story, and it's a big one before we jump into our third story for the day. Netflix. People, this is big. Entertainment news, bang, 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 pay attention. Pay attention, this is a big one. Netflix is to buy Warner Brothers Discovery in an $83 billion cash stock deal. Folks, Warner Brothers, and they subsumed Discovery, so now it's Warner Brothers Discovery, it's gay. But Warner Brothers was one of the longest standing movie studios in Hollywood history, over, nearing 100 years and whatnot. They are just absolutely, if you know Warner Brothers, they made hundreds of movies. They're just like, they're out there. They're not Miramax, as in like Miramax is whatever. They're known for really solid pictures. But Warner Brothers too. They made some really good ones and whatnot. They've had their on-off years. But just in general, Warner Brothers is a huge thing. They are covering like most of DC right now. They're covering a lot of ground. They have so many things that they can pull from. Looney Tunes they do, all of that sort of stuff. Folks, I want to go ahead and I want to just say this. This is not good news. This is not something you should be happy about. Yes, HBO and Netflix are now owned by the same company, so you might see some HBO shit on Netflix. That might be good. Means you might not have to have 2 subscriptions. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be great? Let's actually just play this clip from CNN News. Why not?
Netflix just upended Hollywood again, this time with a media mega merger, buying Warner Brothers and HBO in a deal valued at more than $70 billion. Now, this deal will require a lengthy regulatory review process. The Trump administration may raise red flags. Regulators in the EU may do the same. This deal is not going to be consummated for a long time, if ever. But Netflix is arguing that this deal is in the best interest of consumers as well as the creative community. Although many in Hollywood have their doubts, and some have already come out to object to this media consolidation. This blockbuster deal by Netflix is the result of Warner Bros. Discovery putting itself up for sale earlier this year.
Whoring
WBD
itself
is
out.
Also the
WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery, is whoring itself out. They went ahead and they said, look, running a company is hard. Running a company is, like, really tough. And, like, like, I don't want to be here the rest of my life. I'm 89. I really got to start thinking about how I want to live me. And, like, I'm just thinking, like, this stupid James Gunn universe. Like, a lot of people, they didn't like Peacemaker Season 2, the finale. Like, admittedly, the Nazi world is cool, but they just dipped their toe into it. He was dumb, and he was like, oh, I want that to be an origin story for Captain Triumph, his brother in the other universe. Stupid. Nobody liked it. You should have just shown us Overman, the Justice League influenced by Nazis. People would have liked that 10 times more. But you know, it's really hard. It's really hard to keep that running. And I think that, honestly, it might just be better if we unload. If we just, like, take all this pressure off of us and we go live in the Hamptons. We go live on, I don't know, the richest town in Minnesota. We go live in these nice little areas. I think that would be 10 times less stressful. It's just really nice. And that's the only motive that there was behind this. Warner Brothers wasn't inherently struggling terribly. Sure, they were laying some folks off because Hollywood is dying, but that's why you have to expand. You have to start movie studios in Georgia. That's one of the bigger places that things are going down. You got to start movie studios overseas. The UK is seeing an explosion of certain areas. You know, the East Coast, Miami, Florida, all of these places, you need to start jumping. Hollywood is dying, and I'm sorry, it's factually true. No movies are getting shot there. The lots are empty. Like, movie studios are embarrassed. They won't let people go through on studio tours anymore because nothing is filming, and it's embarrassing. Let's finish this up. Sorry.
Parent company of CNN. And over the summer, it announced a plan to break up into two publicly traded halves, with Warner Brothers and HBO going off to the Warner Brothers side of the house, and CNN and other cable channels going off to a company called Discovery Global. That breakup is still going to happen. It's now set to take place in the summer of 2026. And once it does, Netflix will swoop in and take over Warner Brothers and HBO, assuming all those regulators sign off, of course. This could be a protracted legal battle because there are also other bidders on the sidelines who may continue to try to pursue these assets. Paramount has been the most aggressive in trying to do so. This deal would have been unimaginable 20 years ago, back when Netflix was a DVD by mail startup. But it has gradually, slowly but surely, taken over the entertainment business, becoming the king of the streaming universe, and now it wants to get even bigger. Netflix says this is a deal that sets up the company for decades to come.
It definitely does, and it's nerve-wracking to see where it could go. Folks, I want to jump into our final story. That's a big one. Keep your eye on it. Your content might inarguably get worse because of it. Folks, let's cover our last one because we got a Friday and I'm sure you all want to get to your weekend. So we got this. ICE arrests 12 in the Twin Cities. Crackdown, more to come as businesses attempt to hide their underpaid workforce. And the governor's chronic misalignment with the NGA could hurt Democratic coalescing. Folks, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has initiated Operation Catahoula Crunch. Really fun name. Sounds like an energy bar that you could try and it wouldn't taste very good. But this is not anything delicious. It's not anything that's going to give you 20 grams of protein. This is a high-profile immigration enforcement campaign launched on December 3rd in New Orleans, is Louisiana, with ripple effects extending to other areas like Minnesota. Named after the state's official dog breed, the operation deploys approximately 250 federal agents, including ICE and Border Patrol personnel, to target undocumented immigrants previously released due to local sanctuary policies, sanctuary cities and such, where they just kind of let these people walk around the streets. DHS officials, including Assistant Secretary Teresha McLaughlin, emphasizes that it focuses on criminal illegal aliens with records of home invasion, armed robbery, grand theft auto, rape, aggravated assault, and even homicide. I wasn't laughing at the rape. I was laughing at the grand theft auto. I can't believe I even have to say that. Early results, including dozens of arrests in the New Orleans metro area, such as a high-profile detention of Binh Van, Tu, a Vietnamese national convicted of aggravated kidnapping and sexual assault, and Luis Fernando Maldonado Velázquez from Guatemala, with an outstanding immigration warrant. The operation's ambitious nationwide goal of 5,000 arrests underscores the Trump administration's aggressive push to dismantle perceived protections for violent offenders in Democratic-led cities. Not a bad idea. idea. I actually don't think that that's an inherently terrible idea, with federal agents using marked and unmarked vehicles for street-level sweeps in heavy Latino suburbs like Kenner and Grenta. To bolster security amid potential protests, the FBI and Louisiana State Police are providing protections for agents, signaling concerns over interference. This is really interesting, though. In a parallel, heightened enforcement in Minnesota's Twin Cities has ignited controversy, particularly following President Trump's inflammatory remarks on December 2nd during a cabinet meeting where he labeled Somali immigrants garbage and demanded that they go back to where they came from. That's a fair kind of estimate, but he's more so talking about the criminals. This rhetoric, which also targeted Representative Ilhan Omar as incompetent and terrible, where's the lie, though, coincides with ICE operations ramping up in Somali-heavy neighborhoods like Cedar Riverside, driven by reports of fraud schemes allegedly siphoning over $1 billion from state programs for meals, housing, and medication services. Despite DHS claiming that it prioritizes criminals, most detainees so far are nonviolent, undocumented individuals, in the sense where they don't have any actual criminal record except for the criminal charge of being in the country undocumented, which in and of itself is plenty to arrest somebody. And I'm sorry, that's not something that a lot of people like to hear, but it's true. Undocumented individuals without records, leading to fears of racial profiling. Could eventually happen. It has happened, definitely. U.S. citizens and legal residents of the Somali descent have reported being pulled over, questioned for passports, and briefly detained based on appearance. Local leaders, including Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry, and Governor Tim Walz, have condemned the actions as a PR stunt and racist, vowing non-cooperation from the city police while affirming support to the communities, which number over 76,000 and contribute significantly to the state's economy. The backlash has emptied cultural hubs like the Carmel Mall. I've been to it. If anybody knows about the Carmel Mall, it's with families hunkering down amid revoked temporary protected status for Somalis and Treasury probes into alleged ties to groups like Al-Shabaab. Not good, not good. Let's watch this.
Reporting in the immigration crackdown that's currently underway in our state.
The Department of Homeland Security says it's arresting, quote, worst of the worst and sharing those latest numbers. We want to check in with Shayla Reeves, who joins us now following the latest developments. Shayla?
Yeah, good morning, TAJ and Heather. We learned since launching Operation Metro Surge on Monday, DHS has detained 12 people, actually arrested 12 people. This is a video captured courtesy of Minnesota Public Radio News. It shows Homeland Security agents detaining this man on Thursday afternoon. It happened at a home near Lake Street and Park Avenue. NPR reports the agents questioned the man and eventually left without taking him into custody. ICE has not responded to questions about the operation. And at Ola Arepa, employees say two plainclothes individuals.
Ola Arepa. If you've ever been, I've been to Ola Arepa. It's not bad. They serve some decent Argentinian food and whatnot. It's not bad. But these people, and God bless them. God bless these people. Listen, you'll notice this weird thing from blue state individuals, especially ones who own businesses, who employ the undocumented. They talk about how much they love their neighbors. They talk about how much they're willing to protect them, how they're willing to tell somebody who comes into their restaurant, hey, we want to go look in your kitchen because we could have somebody who's undocumented working here. And then they have their buddy or escort them all out the back. They have a lot of sympathy for these people that keep their business flowing. They have a lot of sympathy for the people that pick our fruit and whatever. But they don't have enough sympathy to where they want them to be documented or have living wages. The majority of them don't. So I'm just saying, I think it's a little self-serving of these people to be like, yeah, no, we're going to protect you. We're going to make sure that you can go back home to your kids and whatever. Not really home because you're not really registered or anything, but whatever. It feels weird. It feels self-serving. It feels like Californians who say we need these immigrants because we need more avocado pickers. We need more people to farm almonds. I don't understand how it helps these people that you claim to care so much about that they're getting paid pennies a day when if they were registered and they were working for you as a proper citizen, they would be paying proper taxes. They'd be cleared. I don't understand why you don't want them to live the same American life as you. It's almost as though certain coalitions of the left are okay with a servant class of people we're always importing in order to sustain this kind of faux luxurious lifestyle that they all want to live. Anyways, I want it from their own words.
entered the restaurant Wednesday saying they were with the Department of Homeland Security. We're told the general manager refused to let them inside the kitchen area and she asked to see a warrant.
Yeah.
That's when the men told her they would be waiting outside for the individual they were looking to apprehend. Ola Arepa closed early that night and escorted employees to their cars.
Oh my gosh.
Naomi and all of our staff just like they did everything exactly how we would have wanted them to. They stayed calm.
They stayed calm. They got in the bus. They got in the van, and we drove them under a bridge. And then they were hidden away for the few hours until the ICE agents left. And then we very humanely trafficked them back to the restaurant. And we said, "All right, now get back to work."
Knew their rights. They were,
They knew their rights. They knew their rights. The rights that they actually don't have under certain restrictions of the law.
They didn't let them in. They didn't crumble.
WCCO reached out to ICE for comment but has not heard back. The National Immigration Law Center says ICE needs a judicial warrant to enter a private area of a business without permission.
For sure.
We know that yesterday marked the second day of targeting Somalis, undocumented Somalis, in the Twin Cities. Coming up here in the next half hour, we'll see how the community is coming together to show support for Somali Minnesotans. That's coming up straight ahead in the next half hour. Heather and AJ.
Announcing 12 arrests so far here. Shayla, thank you.
Awesome. So that's
Somalians should be out of
that's
here.
the crackdown.
They've destroyed our country.
I'm sure they have. Folks, I mean, then you got Tim Walz. He's not helping us with this situation. I know that I bring this guy up, but admittedly, he's throwing himself in the news a lot these days because people will go, "You talk so much about it." It's because he's the conversation. He is the moment. Folks, he's the Democratic governor and 2024 vice presidential nominee. He has shown clear misalignment with the bipartisan National Governors Association. If you don't know about this, the National Governors Association, the NGA, founded in 1908 to foster cross-party collaboration on issues like federal-state regulations, and has historically prioritized consensus and avoided overt partisanship. However, Walz and other progressive Democrats have grown frustrated with the organization's perceived timidity around confronting Trump's actions, such as the January 2025 pause of federal fund disbursements and a February clash with Maine Governor Janet Mills over transgender athletes athlete policies. And the June deployment of California's National Guard to quell anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles without Governor Gavin Newsom's consent. This misalignment peaked when Walz, alongside Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, announced in July of this year that they would cease paying NGA dues. Fascinating, right? Nearly $100,000 annually per state, opting instead to redirect resources to more ideologically aligned Democratic Governors Association, the DGA. So he's avoiding the National Governors Association, which is a general bipartisanship that has existed since the days of Roosevelt, not FDR, Teddy Roosevelt, existed long standing in this country as a way for us to bridge the gap between Republicans and Democrats. He's instead taking that money and purveying it, putting it forward into the Democratic Governors Association. He is going full leaning into one side. Minnesota, unfortunately, we've remained a solid member of the NGA. We've remained a fervent donator. We've remained a close cohort. This is our Paris Climate Agreement in a weird way. It's kind of like it's this organized coalition that he is just refusing to work with simply because they will not bend the knee to his demands. Walz's decision to skip the next NGA summit meeting in Colorado Springs further underscored his view that the group was failing to defend governors' authorities as commanders-in-chief of their state National Guards. In response, Walz also has actively pressured the NGA to issue unified condemnation of Trump's National Guard federalizations and broader executive overreach, including threats to deploy the troops in Democratic-led cities like Minneapolis without gubernatorial approval. Sources familiar with the internal discussions report that Walz rallied fellow Democratic governors during the NGA deliberations, arguing that the group's silence eroded its resilience and emboldened federal encroachments on states' rights. When consensus proved elusive, particularly from Republican-led states, Walz escalated by endorsing and amplifying a separate DGA statement in June 2025, signed by 20 Democratic governors, which labeled Trump's California deployment an alarming abuse of power. that undermined local law enforcement and service members, as though Democrats were ever big on the idea of localities and states' rights, 100%. Listen, we're going to old school democratic ways. We're going back to old school Democrats defending the institution of slavery because it's a state's right to choose whether or not that institution has the right to exist. Like, listen, Democrats are never normally the ones for federal overreach and things like that. In this instance and whatnot, I don't know. It's a weird kind of crossing of the hairs that everybody's kind of weird about, highlighting fractures within the NGA as evidenced by its failure to reference key congressional hearings on the issue's newsletter, prompting Waltz to publicly criticize the organization for lacking urgency. By July, Waltz's mutiny had inspired whispers of further Democratic defections, turning what was once a neutral forum into a partisan battleground. This could rift and significantly undermine the Democratic Party's broader coalition by eroding bipartisan infrastructure, essential for state-federal advocacy and intergubernatorial problem-solving. The NGA's weakened cohesion risks isolating Democratic governors from Republican counterparts on shared priorities like disaster response and economic policy, potentially leaving blue states more vulnerable to Trump's punitive attacks, such as withholding highway funds or launching DOJ probes into the hiring practices. For Democrats, Waltz's aggressive stance, while a rallying cry for the base, may alienate moderate swinging states leaders who value the NGA's diplomatic role, fracturing the party unity at a time when coordinated resistance to federal overreach is crucial. We cannot be dividing ourselves off into little this group. We have to get behind somebody or some general idea, and it seems as though the Democrats don't have any idea what they believe in anymore at all. They don't know whether or not to embrace full economics or identity politics, redistribution of the wealth, or are we going to lean towards capitalism like this country has already been? Nobody can figure it exactly out. Zohran Mamdani is pushing forward this socialist agenda that is redefining the party, and I'm really scared that he's going to be the 2028 nominee. As more governors follow suit, the party could face diminished leverage in national negotiations, exacerbating perceptions of the internal discord and hindering efforts to rebuild the post-2024 electoral coalition that includes diverse regional voices. Folks, I don't know that this is going to help us. It's definitely not. It's definitely going to make Tim look combative. It's going to make him... Listen, a lot of people, they'll go, I'm glad that he's being tough. He's being tough and showing that he's not okay with Trump's overreach and whatnot, at the expense of fracturing his relationship with fellow Democrats. I don't understand. He's doing the purity tests that lost them the 2024 election. He's doing the you must align with generally where we stand, where we believe. Otherwise, we're going to kick you out. We're going to cut off your federal funding. It's a very Trump move in a weird way. Maybe he's taking some inspiration. Folks, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It was a wonderful one. I had a great time telling you about these stories because they're important. You got to keep them in your mind, and you got to know about this stuff because it's important. It is importante. Folks, I hope you had a good time, just as good a time as I did, because I had a great one. We are going to be back at it again on Monday with a brand new episode. Subscribe if you want more, like if you liked it. You know the drill. Folks, this has been Ollie Vogt Larson with Your Brain on Air. Thank you so much for listening, and bye-bye.